important.
An Iron Age bog body in Ireland is not an unusual thing. What is unusual is to find a female bog body. We'll be reporting on what turns out to be a real-life archaeological CSI investigation in a moment. And also in the show, we'll be telling you about seafaring 40,000 years ago, and also an archaeological sort of slight blunder in Saudi Arabia. When is a cairn not a cairn? Archaeologists confused. So no news there. Anyway, before all that, please do take a moment to hit the like and the subscribe button. You'll be helping us to reach the 100,000 subscriber mark within the next few weeks by my calculation. And if you want to go next level, you can join our Patreon community. There's loads more exclusive stuff there for just $5 a month. Actually, while I'm mentioning the Patreon community, you may hopefully notice there's quite a few people in the chat. I bet my bottom dollar that all of them are Patreon supporters, because they have the perk of being given advance notice of when we're going to go live. So that's why you find them there. Hello, folks. Haven't said hello to you yet. We'll do in a moment. Apart from that, you can always help us with the our Buy Me a Coffee campaign to help us with the GÖBEKLI TEPE Stonehenge project. Links to both of those, if you're curious, down below in the description, Rupert. You've got a few words to say about things coming up.
I do have a few words to say. I think the most important thing, an imminent thing coming up, is that, folks, you might want to know that Michael has probably got some interruptions just about to happen. So if he gets up and deserts us, then I shall whistle you a happy tune until he comes back.
Look forward to that, folks.
Yes. No, it's something we're really looking forward to, actually, is next week, next Thursday, we are having Paul Whitewick on as a guest. And I know that a lot of you know Paul's YouTube channel. He does some lovely prehistoric stuff, actually, really nice films. So we're getting him on to join us in one of the shows. And the nice thing is, although some of our friends, James Dilley is a good example. That James Dilley has his own YouTube channel, and we've had him on the show a number of times. But we've had James on because we know him in the context of being an actual sort of on-the-ground archaeologist and everything associated. With Paul, it's the first time that we've actually had another YouTuber as such on. Because of what he makes. And so it's going to be fun for us, actually. It'd be nice to talk to somebody else about, what pushes them to, I'll make a film about that. It's a different mindset.
Yeah, he makes lovely films.
Yeah. But I don't think there was anything else significant that I wanted to say before we crack on.
No, indeed. Fingers crossed that that we won't get absolute proof that this is live with the knock on the door, and that the fourth wall illusion will be broken. But as I say, greetings to our Patreon folk who have joined us. Bless you all, Alison, Sibylla, Paleo Philosopher. Oh, hello. And Nellie's jumping the gun, going straight to our first article.
Hello, Nellie.
Bring you in later. Brew, Diorman, Lily, CL Jeans. Hello, Pixie Piano Player, Caro, Helena, Claire, Sue, Stephen. Oh, brilliant. So many people here. Andrew, Marianne. Okay.
I'm amazed that we hardly gave you any warning, and there's 70-odd people watching already. Amazing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome, folks. Nice to see you, if
Indeed.
virtually.
Is that all we need to do? Because we're well into the show and we haven't even touched on the first article yet.
Do that thing.
You reckon? Okay.
I'm just eternally waiting for the door to go. So.
All right. Well, let's keep our minds off that anyway. Yes, Bog Lady. Secrets of the Belchi bog body are finally revealed. The person had an estimated height of around 5'6". That's an interesting subtitle, isn't it? This article is from the Independent, by the way. I mean, there are many versions of this out there. We're sort of fairly random about which ones we choose. I think I chose the Independent's reporting of this because it's got the most pictures associated with
That
it, one
was
of
what you
which you
said,
can
yes.
see there.
And it has to be said that the actual source paper is another dry one. So
Yeah.
there you see, this is what we want. There's even a picture of her kidney later on. I mean,
Well, this is the thing about bog bodies. It's the level of preservation that is quite extraordinary about them. Anyway, I'll get on to the actual article. The
yeah,
Ballymacombs More Woman has been hailed as one of the most important archaeological discoveries on the island of Ireland, and that quote is from the police service of Northern Ireland. So. A police, a police service that has an archaeological department.
yeah. Do you know what? I think anywhere where you might find bog bodies,
Yeah, exactly.
you need to have archaeologists in the police, don't you?
Yeah,
Because otherwise, can you imagine how many cold cases they would think that they were dealing with?
yeah, yeah. Archaeologists have made a significant revision in their understanding of ancient human remains discovered in a County Londonderry bog last year. Initially believed to be those of a teenage boy, the remains, known as Ballymacombs More Woman, are now thought to belong to a young woman who lived approximately 2,000 years ago. The discovery made in Bogland near Belchi in 2023 initially led researchers to believe they had found the remains of a boy aged between 13 and 17. However, further analysis have revealed that the remains are likely those of a woman between 17 and 22 years old at the time of her death. This revelation has been hailed as one of the most important archaeological discoveries on the island of Ireland, underscoring the significance of the find. The ongoing research promises to shed more light on the life and circumstances of this young woman from 2 millennia ago. So it gives a list of who was involved, which is a bit academic, if that's not too much of a tautology sort of thing. Yeah, as promised, Rupert, and I think we might have a few words to say. Would you believe that
What?
we're told is the liver from the body, which I won't dwell upon, but it is just quite
The
extraordinary.
caption says kidney.
Kidney? Did I say liver?
You said liver. You have
Ah,
me.
Lord. Anatomy, not my strong point. But the point is the extraordinary level of preservation from 2,000 years ago, which is what you tend to get with the bog bodies in Ireland. I mean, we've been in the National Museum in Dublin, and there's a special area, a special display of bog bodies there. What are the 4 or 5 examples, as there were in that special display, and it really is quite. I would say, it's quite something to be in the presence of in those circumstances, isn't it? It's quite different. I mean, we're looking at a strange photograph here, of some remains, but in the museum they're displayed. Well, they're in your face, aren't they? Obviously they're in glass cases, but to be looking at what essentially is a dead body there from however many thousand years ago.
Yeah, I actually, do you know, I really like the way that they've been put on display in Dublin, because whilst it's there's you can interpret it on so many different levels. I mean, there's a macabre aspect of putting dead bodies on display, if you like, but they do somehow seem to be done quite reverentially.
Yes.
In Dublin, I think they've done it particularly well. And the thing that always strikes me, and it doesn't matter whether it's bones or those odd times when privileged enough to be handed a skull uh, to have a chat with, and looking at bog bodies as well. The first thing that ever comes to my mind is, "What's your name? What was your
Yes.
name?"
Yeah.
It's something, I don't know. It's so profoundly personal, isn't it? That I think it's important to not see them as just some item that's been dragged out of a tomb, but
Yeah.
this was a
Yeah.
person who lived an ordinary life, and well,
Mm.
probably lived an ordinary life, but you know what I mean.
Mm.
Yes, what was your name? Yeah.
The remains have been dated to approximately 343 BCE to 1 BCE during a period known as the Iron Age. Osteoarchaeological analysis has revealed the body to be female, a discovery described as all the more significant as the majority of bog-preserved individuals that have been found from this period are male, as displayed in the National Museum and in Dublin. Because all those bog bodies are, and the only bog bodies actually I can recall having heard of, or seen, or whatever, have been bog bodies, male. I can't think of a female one. Maybe that's just me and my memory. Who knows? It says the
It's a good
individual.
question, though.
Yeah, but the individual has an estimated height of around 5'6", which I seem to remember saying somebody remarked that seemed tall for the age. That she must have had a good diet to be that tall. But I don't know, is that assumption correct? Or is it an assumption, or is it based on actual statistics about
I
the
think it's
height of
too small a sample, isn't it? Really?
Well, in this case, yes, but yeah. But 5'6", details like that give presence to something like this, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. While the body was well preserved, the skull was absent and was not recovered. Research found that cut marks on the neck vertebrae indicate the cause of death as an intentional decapitation in the bog, which may be part of a pattern of ritual and sacrifice during the Iron Age period. Part of a woven item made of plant material was also recovered from below the knees and is thought to be part of an associated artifact. You don't say. The museum is currently working with specialists to identify what this artifact could potentially be, and are describing it as a woven plant-based fabric likely associated with the individual and dating to this period. As a picture of the bog area for what it's worth. In line with the naming convention applied to similar discoveries, i.e. the town where remains are found, paired with the sex of the individual, the remains are now referred to as the Ballymacombs More Woman. Niamh Baker, curator of archaeology at the National Museum's Northern Ireland, said the Ballymacombs More Woman is one of the most important archaeological discoveries on the island of Ireland. This important discovery gives us a glimpse into the lives of people in the ancient past. Blah, blah, blah. And I loved this photograph. I used it as the thumbnail. It
Yes.
really gives the impression of a real life archaeological CSI scenario, doesn't it? So this is the well, I'm just trying to find
What are you looking for?
the bit where it says about the order in which whether
The actual execution as such.
the actual execution, yes, and I missed it now. I'm sure it's in this report, isn't it? Oh yes, here we go. It was a privilege to undertake the osteological analysis of. This is Eileen Murphy speaking. It was a privilege to undertake the osteological analysis of this important but very poignant archaeological human remains, she said. As is the case for so many Iron Age bog bodies, the young woman suffered a highly violent death which involved the flow of blood from her throat, followed by decapitation. The head was taken away, but the body was left where it fell, only to be discovered by machine workers some 2,000 years later. No further scientific analysis, including the inclusion of ADNA analysis, will no doubt yield further fascinating findings. No, it was a thing about how do you discern that. I kind of assumed in the first place that it would have been cut marks on the bone that gave that away, but no, with such a high preservation of organic remains, maybe there's evidence of actual cut marks to the throat. In which case you ask the question, is the decapitation part of the execution, or is it a post-mortem, in this case, exercise for the preservation of the skull separately?
Who knows? Who knows? I think we should pick up on a few comments here, because Pixie said, when you were talking about how tall she was, Pixie said she's taller with her head on, just like myself. This is inescapably true, Pixie. And Jez, I can't remember what you do or did, but Jez obviously has experience in these things. He said there's one German one he recalls was a female, and he also said, "Come on, Jez, I'm looking for the message that you put a little bit earlier on that." Jez actually, here you go. Jez said, "I once held a piece of Lindau man.
Oh, yeah,
Speaking as a leather worker, he felt like wet leather, unsurprisingly." Interesting.
Oh, big thanks to There Is No Try. I agree. There is no try. Thanks for that. Super chat coming in for There Is No Try. Yeah. Who
Thank you.
Gets a proper mention, of course, for who asked what is the average female height for females at that time? I would think 5'6" at that time is an indicator of good nutrition. Yeah.
Now, Frank answered that. I think it was you, Frank, wasn't it?
Oh, well, Frank's in a very good position to know this stuff.
Frank is in a good position to know.
It says there are more female bog bodies. I'm sure the words just didn't know.
Yeah, we're just having another senior moment.
The Dutch Jede girl, Swedish raspberry girl, stomach full of raspberries. Oh my goodness.
No, I'd heard of her, and don't know anything else beyond that. Too many things. That's your phone, isn't it?
Just put it out of the way.
Yes. But there was a comment that, here you go. It was, I beg your pardon, it was John Allen. Average height is 5 feet for Ireland 3,000 years ago, according to AI. Other sources are available. That probably sounds about right, though. Well done.
Yeah, Frank, send us a link for the Swedish raspberry girl. Maybe an intriguing thing to do a thing on later on some point. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from the chat there, Rupert, that you wanted to pick up on? Jez says, did you mention this, that 5'2" average apparently for Iron Age Irish women?
Okay, so we have an option of 5 foot or 5'2". Do you know what?
Yeah,
I think with the sample that we have, then I'd say anywhere between 5 foot and 5'6" works for me.
Okay.
Anyway. Actually, I mean, joking aside, I do think it's important to bear that in mind, that when we make these broad statements from excavated remains, but when it comes down to how many actual bodies, and that can be skeletons as well, but how many actual samples have been properly analysed, and you're only talking about hundreds.
Mm.
And when you bear that in mind, when you're trying to make a sort of generalised statement about the entire human race at that time, it's not a big sample.
Mm. Mm. And it's very well. The other thing that's very difficult to work out, that the conditions are particularly ripe for the preservation of bog bodies in Ireland. And the bog
Yeah.
bodies that we have, speak to violent ends usually. So were these violent ends happening anyway, whether there were bogs or not, for bodies to be deposited in, or
That's a good question.
does it speak, generally to part of the culture of the times back then? What level of this are these each individual special cases, or can it tell us a story about what people thought? That's the tough one.
But it's such a good point, though, isn't it? That when you look at the we did a thing on it, but violence in the Bronze Age, particularly.
Yeah.
I know this is Iron Age, but nevertheless, that the amount of research that has been done on violent ends. So so many instances of blunt force trauma. So someone's been staved over the head with a mace of some description. Excuse me. And as you say, we're finding these things preserved, these bodies preserved in bogs. But is it that we find them just because that's where they are and they happen to have been preserved, or is it that they were specifically taken to the bogs to be executed in the first place? And we don't know.
We've waxed lyrical about bogs and things like that being liminal spaces at the boundaries between the living and the dead, or the light and the dark, or whatever, between this world and the next, and maybe I don't know. I'm so loath to start hypothesizing about such things. Because like I was saying the other day, it was such a long time ago. It's another country, and you never know until you go there, do you? You're always surprised when you go to another country, because whatever you thought it was like, it's not like that at all. Anything else, Rupert?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, without pontificating.
Oh, we wouldn't want you to pontificate, would we?
No, we wouldn't want
Especially as
that.
it's live and I can't cut it out. All right. Let us bring us to ancient seafarers of Asia built sophisticated boats 40,000 years ago. Study finds. Now, what that very lovely picture is doing there, I don't know. We're told
Which article have you got there?
It's in Greek Reporter, which
okay. You're going on the Greek Reporter.
folks.
Okay.
Greek Reporter, it's just
good paper.
fantastic for archaeology.
Yeah.
Anyway, just returning to that picture a moment. I don't know. We're told it's an illustration of Zheng He's fleet, or Zheng He's fleet. Chinese, obviously. So I think early Ming Dynasty or something like that. So what that's doing here, I do not know. As an illustration to 40,000-year-old Philippine thing.
Okay, I must admit I've been working off the phys.org paper, which they're both off the same research paper.
Research,
folks, so it's not different. It's
You've had a closer look at the research than I, but anyway, it sort of bounce off
did.
these words anyway, if you want to interject. According to a new study, ancient seafarers of Asia and the Philippines and surrounding islands may have developed advanced boat-building skills thousands of years ago, long before explorers like Magellan or Zheng He set sail. Research published in the Journal of Archaeological Science challenges the long-held belief that major technological advances in early history were limited to Europe and Africa. Scholars from Ateneo de Manila University Rixar Fuentes and Alfred Paulick suggest that prehistoric islanders in Southeast Asia were skilled boat builders and navigators capable of crossing vast oceans. Island Southeast Asia was never connected to mainland Asia by land or ice, yet early humans lived there. This raises a key question. How did they reach these islands? Physical evidence is scarce since boats were likely made of perishable materials like wood and fibre. However, discoveries in the Philippines, Indonesia and Timor-Leste provided strong clues. Researchers examined ancient stone tools from these sites, some dating back 40,000 years. Microscopic analysis revealed traces of plant fibre processing, suggesting early humans made ropes, nets and bindings, materials essential for boat building and deep-sea fishing. Anything going all right so far? Anything to...
No, nothing to interject at this stage.
Findings from Mindoro and Timor-Leste further support the idea of earlier maritime expertise. Excavations uncovered remains of deep-sea fish, including tuna and sharks, along with fishing hooks, fishing tools such as hooks, net weights, and gorges. These discoveries indicate that prehistoric people actively hunted large fish in open waters rather than relying on shallow coastal fishing. You may be getting a gyro ad, Oddiffy 1936. But I think everybody else will be getting something else depending on their algorithm, don't you? Well, sorry about that. This is supposed to eliminate the ads. This viewing it in this way in Apple Safari, but this ad got through for some reason. Don't know why. So the remains of large predatory pelagic, is that the right way to pronounce that word? Yes. I don't even know what it means.
Yes, it is. It's deep sea, ocean, open water stuff, as opposed to coastal, yeah.
All right. And these sites indicate the capacity for advanced seafaring and knowledge of the seasonality and migration routes of these fish species, the researchers said in their paper. Meanwhile, the discovery of fishing implements indicates the need for strong and well-crafted cordage for ropes and fishing lines to catch the marine fauna. A word or two about, this is two bits of circumstantial evidence being brought together, isn't it, to make this hypothesis?
Yeah. Well, we actually did. We reported on a previous aspect of similar research a couple of years ago. In fact, I say a couple of years ago, it was probably longer, where they were looking at the remains of fish that had been found in certain caves in Southeast Asia, Philippines, all around there, and they'd already discussed back then that these people clearly were capable of distance travel and open water travel because, number one, these were always island areas and the remains were of deep sea fish. And number two, it was the remains of what have we got? It was.
I'm so sorry. That's so rude. But when you look at the chat,
I like it. Hey, the chat.
When you look at the chat and something, no, he's going back to bog bodies. And Jez Hunt says, "I can't believe it's not bog butter." Which only makes sense if you remember the ad.
The article about. Yes, that's just.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. In fact, we could talk about.
Jez, you owe us all an apology.
You're a bad person. Did you see? We reported on an article a few months ago where they had excavated. It was the largest piece of bog butter ever found, which is basically butter preserved in bogs. Why would you not? Anyway, and what cracked me up about that was that one of the archaeologists who found it, actually tasted it to check. And I thought that was a devotion to duty beyond all, really. But yeah, she tasted 2,000-year-old bog butter. Hey ho, yes. Hats off to her. Anyway, well, no, all I'm saying is that what makes this research different, what makes it an advance on the previous research, is that they have been analysing the residues on the stone tools that they found to see what sort of plants were being processed, because it's a big question, isn't it? Of if you know that these people going back thousands of years, 40,000 years in this case, if you know that they were going into open waters, then what sort of vessels were they using? And if you look, for example, at the dugout canoes, particularly, you look at the sorts of canoes that the Polynesians were using when Cook went over, uh, and reported on, these people who were, these people were traveling thousands of miles in wooden boats. But the point that these guys are making in this research is that the sorts of tools necessary to make those sorts of boats didn't appear until the Mesolithic. So here we're looking at the remains of plant fibers, essentially. And that, for me, certainly brought up the fact that we have known for a long time. In fact, you look at Thor Heyerdahl's work in the 1960s, where he showed, you've got Kon-Tiki and Ra 1 and Ra 2, where he was showing how you could travel long distances in open water with reed boats, papyrus boats. So essentially, that's what this research is showing, that these people were using, they're experimenting with bamboo at the moment as well. But it's the fact that they were using, whether it was grass boats, reed boats, something, they were not like dugout canoes. Anyway, that's the significant thing here.
So I don't think there's much more to say from the actual article itself, pertaining to the study, because there isn't a lot of detail, and there cannot be in an article like this. But it does mention the experimental archaeological thing that you just did, didn't you? Should I talk about the initiative? Where are we? Screenshot insert. Inspired by years of field work in an island in Occidental Mindoro, the researchers launched an experimental project to test their ideas. In collaboration with the University of Cebu naval architects, they founded the first long-distance open sea watercrafts flow project. The initiative aims to recreate and test ancient boat-building techniques using locally available materials, offering new insights into prehistoric seafaring methods. Do you really think we can learn from that? Or they can learn from that? Or is it?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I'm not sure. It could so easily miss on so many levels, couldn't it?
Well, the trouble is that you can show that something is possible. In experimental archaeology, you can show that something is possible, but that doesn't mean that's how they did it.
Yeah.
Nelly has made a comment. You can dig a one-log canoe with fire. Yeah, you can. But the thing is that once you've burnt it, and then, I suppose you could just use stones to chip away the burnt wood. But it's one of those things that if the lithics that they have been testing have shown plant fibers as opposed to any splinters of wood or anything like that, then it obviously what that's telling you is that we can say for certain that they were using plant fibers as opposed to timber. Now, that's not to say that they didn't use timber. It might just be that those remains have not been found. But again, that would just be guesswork. We know they use plant fibers, and there's all the evidence for cordage, certainly. So it's that remains as a question. Maybe they did. Maybe.
And of course, I obviously they did travel by sea. I think that's one of the most fascinating aspects of all of prehistory. It's unraveling this bit of the how, what sort of boats they were actually using, whether it be for fishing, whether it be for accidental or deliberate travel, or later on during the Neolithic, certainly, and the Mesolithic, what sort of extent of trade was enabled by the size of ships they had. I'm getting off topic,
But the
now,
biggest
but
shock for me when we were researching this a few years back, the biggest shock for me was if you look forward, just do a search on the earliest evidence for ocean going, travel. So just not just boats, not coastal stuff, but actual open water travel. And there's evidence for it going back almost 1,000,000 years, over 900,000 years. And
Get away. Yeah.
and the thing is that it faced with that evidence, and they can say this for sure. Same as the example here of if you've got evidence in a cave of deep sea fish, then you know that the people weren't catching them just by going down to the water and fishing off a rock. But if we have been, I say we, it's nearly 1,000,000 years ago.
Nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with us at all, exactly. But the thing is, if we've been, if humans have been, smart enough to be doing that for nearly 1,000,000 years, then it does raise all sorts of science fiction potentials, doesn't it? Of, well, what else has been lost? How many little kind of punctuated evolution? How many little pieces of people got advanced at this point and then were wiped out by a cosmic airburst or something like that, back to square one? And we don't know.
Basically, Rupert, you're saying we know nothing. We dig stuff out of the ground and we have a look at it. And it looks familiar, but actually we know nothing.
Yeah.
Should we end the program now? Should we end it all now?
We know nothing. I'm very proud to say I know nothing.
Nothing. Yes. But let's have fun with it. Jill says an archaeology lecturer I had years ago surmised that the Pacific Ocean was being travelled by boats 100,000 years ago. Yeah.
That's the thing with the really, really old stuff. They don't know whether it was just lucky rafting or what. It quite probably was, but that's not the point. Still evidence for it. Kate says, "Sorry, I'm late." Hello, Kate.
Oh, don't apologise. I'm glad to see you. Lots of comments. Great. Can't read them all out, I'm afraid. If you're watching the recording of this or whatever, do pay attention to them in the chat there. Okay, there was a lot of fun had with bog butter there, and let's not go there.
I missed that. Yes.
Yeah, but for the moment, I think we're done with. I tell you what, though, that this whole thing of seafaring. This is why we're so looking forward to returning to Turkey, and we'll be on the Aegean coast of Turkey in April. That's when we're plotting to go, and then the next stop will be Frankfurt Cave in Greece, and so on and so forth, and just the fascination with how obsidian particularly was being traded then. And it's something we really do want to try and get to grips with. Shall we think about going to Saudi Arabia now? And for the last of the three items that we have.
Yeah, we like this one.
Okay. Right. Saudi Arabia archaeologists stopped in their tracks.
Of course they were.
I've not seen that one before. Is stunned.
Flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted. Actually, to be fair, I haven't seen that one. Yeah, amazed. Anyway, stopped in their tracks after excavating 5,000-year-old tomb in inverted commas. There's a clue. Part of the prehistoric Alula and Khaybar excavation project in Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists didn't expect to find what they came across. So archaeologists exploring the history of Saudi Arabia were stopped in their tracks after examining a site that what they believed to be from the Bronze Age. Hello?
Yes. I said to you at the time, isn't this a brilliantly written article?
Okay. That they believed to be from the Bronze Age. Finding secrets from thousands of years ago makes archaeology so fascinating. Actually, it's a bit of early philosophizing here about, with numerous projects around the world actively looking for clues to a time gone by and what life might have been like. Ancient Egypt is, of course, among blah, 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 example, China's 2,000-year-old terracotta army. Over in Saudi Arabia, the prehistoric Alula and Khaybar excavation project, TEPE, has been working with the Royal Commission and that'll be the door. You'll have to excuse me, folks, for a moment while I leave you in the able hands of my beautiful assistant, Mr. Rupert Soskin. Back in a moment.
Yeah. It's quite funny, really. I'm surprised that the deliveries or pickups are as late as they are. Here, look, I'll show you this while Michael's out of the room. Some of you might have seen this, but a lot of people don't know. I brought this back from the Amazon. Do you know what that is? Apart from the fact that I've cut it in two. But that's a Brazil nut. They grow on trees like that. And it's hard as anything, this wood, but there's a seed pod. And when you cut them open, then all the nuts are inside. How's that? Did you know that? Before I went and actually collected this, I didn't know that was how Brazil nuts grow. There you go. There you go. That's the end of the ad break. He's back. Well done. Good timing. We were just talking behind your back.
I'm sure you were. Had you gone on to another topic or just...
Yeah, I showed people Brazil nuts and how they grow. Do you remember that one?
I'm not going to ask. And now...
yes.
Yes. The archaeological site of Alula in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. Now working with the University of Sydney in Australia, PACAP has revealed what happened when archaeologists focused their sights on a suspected cairn. Now, for those of you not in the know, a cairn is a pile of stones raised above the ground created by humans to either act as a burial mound or as a marker for something, not a market, as it says there, a marker for something else. So what you've got there in that image is a top-down view of the cairn in question. But actually, hopefully, what I've got over here is an image that isn't in the article. Let's bring it up. Ah, there it is. That's the actual cairn in question. Just so you've got a bit of visual and a bit of context there. So, investigating this cairn, experts thought it to be from the Bronze or Iron Age, with it being a potential tomb. The Bronze Age itself started around 3,300 BC and ended about 1,200 BC, meaning the structure was, in experts' estimates, up to 5,300 years old. But the reality was far from what they were hoping, with the mound relating to camels. Historic camels? We should have said prehistoric camels, shouldn't we? No, not even close. In a statement this week on The Find, PACAP said in a series of posts on X, formerly Twitter, in early 2024, our project surveyed this well-preserved cairn, thinking it might be an undisturbed Bronze or Iron Age tomb. We excavated it. What did we find? The structure caused great excitement, as although some stones had been displaced from the top of the stone pile, all the capstones were still in place. But as excavations started, it became even more confusing. The structure was just interlocking layers of stone filled with sand. There was no central chamber, no bones or artefacts. But then a lovely local man came in and had a chat, and the mystery was revealed. It continued, "He told us that the stone pile was made on top of this hill 50 years ago. Why did they make it? To create a platform so they could look for their camels. Archaeologists, beware." It was a camel viewing platform. This is why engaging with locals is so vitally important for archaeological projects! Exclamation mark. It added,
Yes.
engaging with the locals who know this landscape has helped us so many ways. This is just one example. After he left, we rebuilt the stone pile to its original height so people could just keep looking for the camels. At least the camels won't go missing.
But it's so true. What they actually said there about the importance of talking to locals, and it reminded me. We mentioned this the other day. Reminded me of when Michael and I were filming Standing with Stones, and we were in the Lake District. We'd been filming up Piker Stickle, and we were down in the valley one day, and we were talking to one of the local farmers, and he told us with great glee about there was one day that he had a whole load of archaeologists and archaeology students as well that were very excitedly looking at this cairn in the corner of his field. And he didn't have the heart to tell them. They were very excited about this cairn that they'd discovered, and he didn't have the heart to tell them that he'd put them all there. It was just field clearance. He'd just been clearing all the boulders and stones off his field and put them all in a pile. And there you go, archaeologists thinking they'd found another cairn. Yeah, he didn't tell them. So to this day...
Jez is going to have to apologise again.
What's he said now?
Archaeologists must have got the hump because of that.
Honestly, Jez. Yeah.
It's the way he tells them. Okay, is this the beginning of a... okay. Why do camels only work on Wednesday? I don't know, why do camels only work on Wednesday?
Because that's hump day.
We should wait for the answer to that question. In the meantime, it's really time for us to be wrapping up, Rupert.
Yeah.
Have we got
I don't think...
anything?
Do you know anywhere else that... It was Stephanie who introduced me to Hump Day. I'd never heard of it before. I don't know if it's something particularly American. I don't know anybody in Europe who says Hump Day. Do you? I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm kind of ashamed. Oh no, you're not.
Yeah, Hump Day, of course.
Yeah, Hump Day. It's getting over the hump in the middle of the week. Yes.
And with that, I think it is time to say goodbye. To be honest,
downhill all the way. It is. Yes, it probably is.
Guys, I know a lot of you watching right now are already subscribed to us on Patreon, supporters of us on Patreon, and probably contributed to the GÖBEKLI TEPE Stonehenge project. If you're new to us, though, and you've enjoyed the content, and you're looking around and you enjoyed the other stuff that we do, please do have a look at our Patreon page. As you can tell from the chat, our community is a group of very wonderful people, fun to be around. They're great, so we'd love to see you join them. The GÖBEKLI TEPE Stonehenge project is an ongoing series. We're ongoingly making a series of films that tells the story of the Neolithic from all the way from Anatolia across northern Europe till it ends up on the Wiltshire Plain in the form of Stonehenge. So some filming has taken place, some content has been produced, but we're still in the process of making that. So any contributions are very, very welcome. Links to the Buy Me a Coffee campaign down below. You may have noticed that we're at the moment just a couple of hundred short of 99,000 subscribers, and by my estimation we'll be making the 100,000 subscriber mark in sometime in March, I expect.
Yeah.
Which
Hope so.
means everything and nothing, if you see what I mean. It's a huge milestone, but when we do get something for it, we'll get a plaque, which will go on the shelf. Not that way, the other way, up there behind the speaker there. So, and you'd be able to say, I helped do that. I helped put that plaque up on the shelf behind Michael's right shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
so
list all your
I'm sure
names
you're all
in
subscribers
2.5.
anyway, so I'm speaking, I'm preaching to the choir, I expect. Okay. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed that, and we really look forward to seeing you the next time. This is a lot of fun.
Honestly.
Well, I hope it is anyway.
Well,
bye-bye from me.
The comments there, people seem to say so. Nigel said it's great being part of Michael and Rupert's laughing. Hey, rude not to. Cheers, folks. Goodbye from me too, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. If I can find the right button.